This week's city update, we're going to be taking this portion of the city and finishing it up. And we're going to be starting by doing the lighting in the cars in the street. Now, I do a lot of my own lighting, but this time I thought I'd cut a quick corner and use the Brick Loot car LED light kit. And for me to use it, the first thing I have to do is rip that plug off because I use the 1.25 millimeter plug ports throughout my city because they hide really well in a Mills plate. Something else I want to show you is once you pop that open, you're going to see that there's two resistors, and there's a reason behind that. Each resistor is for each color of light. So you have one resistor for the white lights and one resistor for the red lights. So if you ever decide to do your own lighting, it's important to know that you do have to separate each LED by color and don't ever do more than 4 per resistor. Once I get the USB plug removed, I simply solder on two 1.25 millimeter plugs. One's a male, one's a female. And the reason that I do it that way is so I can have a continuous circuit running throughout my Mills plates. With everything soldered, I take my lighter and I heat up the shrink tubing so that way I have a nice clean connection on all my solder joints and I don't have to worry about any short circuiting. And then we give the car a quick test and it looks great. And now it's time for the fun part. I have to rip all the sidewalks and everything off that I had put up last week because I have to get back down to the road level in order to be able to add this little piece that I use to hook the wires up to my cars. And what I do is I simply take a combination of 1x2 plates and 1x1 round plates in order to give me a small passage to hold the wires and keep them hidden underneath the roadway. I decided I'm only going to put 3 cars on this section of road because it is a small town and I want to give it that small town feel. And with a small town, you shouldn't have cars packed bumper to bumper. While having this already disassembled as well, I had a few people that suggested last week that I should put some manhole covers somewhere in the street. So I thought, you know what, I went ahead and added one in front of the white car because I thought that was actually a cool little detail to include in the city. Now with the cars all added in, I can start getting back to putting the road back together, getting it placed down, and start adding the sidewalks back. But part of that process of adding the sidewalks is I do also have to do the street lights. To do the street lights, I use another little bit of a cheat. I designed a light called the Mills Plate Light. It works great if you are doing Mills Plate building, and Blinky Bricks was kind enough to put it into manufacturing, and they do sell it on their website, so I use it anytime I'm doing street lights and a lot of other things throughout my city. With me adding the light poles at the street level, what I decided to do is the light pole that was in front of the train station, I turned it into a landscaping light, because I'm going to put one light on either side of the sidewalk in front of the train station. And I also do want to point out, if you look very closely, I do now have handicap ramps to get up and down the sidewalks, but I do still have to transfer the entrance of the train station into a handicap accessible ramp as well. That will be coming in probably the next city update. Something else you may notice is on my street light poles, I do drill a hole through the 4x4 plate and the 2x2 tile. Typically, I am against drilling through Lego, but this is a particular part that I have by the thousands, and I don't mind drilling through parts that are not rare. 99% of the time, though, I always build and design most of my things by making sure there is a pathway for the wire to run. Like this billboard sign, for example, it's simply a combination of 2x2 round bricks, and then I'm running the tubing that I sell on my website up the center of it, and that provides 2 different things. Number 1, it holds all the 2x2 bricks together, but number 2, it gives me a raceway for the wiring so I can have the lights up on the billboard sign. At this little junction in the city, I have a lot going on. I have the street light pole, I have the landscape light for the Welcome to Angelville sign, and then I also have the lights that are going up the billboard. So one of the things you'll notice I do here, because there's so much wire to hide in the Mills plate, I'll just take, it's simply a garbage tie, wrap it around the wire to keep it nice and neat and tidy, and simply plate over the top of it and start adding all my details. I added a transformer, a couple different trees, and some bushes, and then I even have the plug on the opposite side of the street. Now we have to move the camera down to the other end, and I have to work on getting this alleyway kind of fixed in. And here's what I decided to do. I thought, you know what? We have this empty spot next to the police station, and the squad car needs a place to park. So I put a ramp to come up into this alleyway portion of the city, because I'm going to put the squad car next to the Andy Griffith building, and I'm going to end up tiling this entire area out. But again, first, I wanted to finish the street, so I had to finish adding all the street lights and get the entire sidewalk tiled in. Because once I'm finished tiling in the sidewalk, that completely ends me having to do any more electrical work to this portion of the city. Everything else will just be strictly focused on adding details and other neat little features to the build in and around the town. because I do still have a lot of really cool features that I am going to be adding. Starting with building a couple of these cool little trees to put along the main street, because all little small towns have these little trees usually lining their main streets. So this is simply a 1x1x5 post with the square bottom. I put the 1x1 with the bricks on all sides on the base of that, and then I just put the grill piece around it so it looks like it's kind of got a fence going around the tree. And then it's just a matter of trying to get everything assembled, put on top of the tree, and filled in so we can get it placed throughout the city. And we're just going to put a couple of these down throughout Main Street because we don't want to clutter it up too much. Now I want to add a few telephone poles, and this is the old design that I used to use, and I really don't care for it as much anymore, so I came up with this new design. I feel it's a much smoother look, and they're really easy to build. It's just using a whole bunch of the small Technic axles and also the brown connector pieces. To get what I thought was a comfortable height for the telephone poles, I used a total of 9 of the connector pieces and then 8 of the actual axle pieces. And then I used 1x8 plates to make the pole that goes across. The first pole that I put up, I had to do just a little bit differently, and the reasoning behind that was because I have the transformer over underneath the tree, and I feel that you had to have the wire coming down the pole as you would in any natural situation. So that was an absolute must-add detail. And to keep the tension on the part I'm using as the wire, I made my own little tensioning cable and put a yellow piece of tubing that I sell on my website around a string to give it that natural look. Now I'm simply adding just a few small fire hydrants just to add another little bit of detail, and then also tiling in the entire alleyway next to the Andy Griffith police station. Once that's tiled in, I'm simply going to use the squad car from the Simpsons set until I get a chance to build my own custom version to put there. Now I want to quickly clear some space for the downtown diner and the Palace Cinema and get ready to prep for building some industrial buildings in the back corner over here. Overall, I am beyond happy with the progress that I've made with this last week, and I even put in a custom-made sign naming my city Angelville, which is named after my wife. I still have a little bit more work to do over here. Number one being I have to add lighting to the railroad crossing signs, and I'm also waiting on some parts to actually build a nicer looking crossbar. I also intend on doing a little more work to the telephone poles, but the problem is, like always, I am lacking the parts that I want and or need to do exactly what I want to do. So hopefully in the next city update, you will see some of those improvements that I truly intend on doing. In this little corner over here, there is no building just yet, and the reason is quite simply this: I intend on building another mock, using a vintage set. This set in specific. This is the gas station from the Old Town Plan set, and I feel this would make a really awesome looking vintage gas station for an Old Town Main Street. Coming back to the rear of the table, I wanted to explain a few things. Behind the downtown diner, I currently have that water tower. That water tower is not finished, but that is probably where it is going to be permanently located. I also intend on putting some industrial buildings there at the end of the table, because I like it to be, when you're looking down through the street, you can't see all the way through to the wall. I like everything to be nice and full in appearance. But now that we've had a really good look with the lights on, let's get a good look at the city with the lights off. To me, that is my personal specialty, and honestly, it's what I enjoy doing the most, is adding the lighting. Being an electrician by trade, lighting is something that I've done my whole life, so anytime I'm working on anything, whether it be a model, Lego builds, whatever, I always like to do a lot of crazy stuff with LED lights. And I have some other plans for some new types of signs as well, including doing some neon type signs with some light bar tubing that I've recently discovered. I can't guarantee I'm going to be able to do anything soon because I'm still experimenting, but it has some great possibilities for doing neon signs, for example, like the pool hall, the hotel, and even for the vintage gas station that I'm going to be building really soon. As far as the billboard signs, you'll notice that this side of the billboard, it says Octane. At some point, you're going to see the other side of it, and it's just black and white. The point of it being black and white like that is I plan on putting a minifigure up there to be as he's painting a new sign. So if it looks a little odd, that is the reasoning and the thought process behind that, is a minifigure is going to be up there painting the sign to put something new. I still may add some more vegetation details to the front corner over here as well, but for now, I'm calling this portion of the city done. So thank you for coming to check out Angelville, and I hope to see you in the next city update.